Well, hello everybody. Today we are going to talk about focusing on health and the future. But before we dive into doing so, I think it's worth providing a little bit of context as to why that's the topic of the show today. As you could tell, you just heard the screen door of my office instead of my truck. And that's because I'm taking the day off today. This is the last of many days I'd scheduled off for the month of August. And this morning I was doing some writing. And by the time I got done with that, I realized that what I had written about would serve as a good topic for today's show. And since I'm not driving, I figured I would share it with you over a walk around the perimeter of what will hopefully be a few acres dedicated towards livestock production at some point in the future. But we can get into that at another point in time. But without further ado, I guess let's get into what I had written this morning. And like I said, that is a focus on health and the future. Now, I began writing at 8:10 a.m. this morning. And like I'd said, this was the last of 6 days I had scheduled off this month. And it feels good. Though how I feel is a bit more questionable. Recently, I've been experiencing some challenges with my health. The biggest issue lately has been gastrointestinal issues, dating back 4 years when I was initially hospitalized in 2017. Now, luckily, recent testing has ruled out a number of potentially bad things, but I also discovered that I had recently developed ulcers as well. Now, in addition to the gastrointestinal issues, I've been having increased seizures as well this year. More seizures from January to July in a 6-month period than I'd had in the previous 6 years. Now, accordingly, my neurologist scheduled additional testing as well to see if there were any changes in my brain activity, in my brain functioning, but luckily there were not, which indicates that current lifestyle and environmental factors are likely contributing to this increased seizure activity. Now, after the most extreme seizure in mid-June, I decided to take a step back. Up until that point, I'd been putting in a lot of work here on the homestead with the construction and the completion of the commercial kitchen inside the barn next to my office. Now, while we still need to complete the plumbing on the sink and install the ductless mini-split heating and cooling system, my part of the work, the construction of the space, was complete, and I was able to take a step back. Now, during the year 2017, the idea of functional medicine was introduced to me by one of the doctors at the Epilepsy Center of the Cleveland Clinic. Now, at that time, in 2017, all I could really focus on was getting out of debt. During the 3 previous years, I spent so much time, effort, and energy on building my business. And at that point, I was in ill health and deeply in debt. I did not follow up on anything related to functional medicine. However, with everything going on recently with my health, again, and having my deductible most likely met with all of the testing this year, follow-up with functional medicine seemed like a wise idea, especially since I had worked hard to become debt-free. But in June, when I called to schedule an appointment after that seizure, I learned that they were booked into 2022. I inquired about a waiting list, but the only waiting list they had was for clients that they already had scheduled so that they could get a phone call if there was another cancellation. The only suggestion they could give me was to call back periodically to see if there was anything that had opened up. And this kind of seemed a bit strange to me, but nevertheless, I made a note to do so and scheduled reminders on my calendar to follow up with functional medicine. Now, during the month of July, I ended up having another seizure during my morning workout. Luckily, that seizure was a bit milder and did not result in as much physical injury. Regardless, it served as a wake-up call to reevaluate exactly what I was doing in my life and why. It was time to seriously take a look at all of the factors contributing to this increased seizure activity. Now, luckily, I was able to schedule an appointment with the Center for Functional Medicine at the Cleveland Clinic in early September. After securing the appointment, I decided that a focus on my health would become my priority for the remainder of 2021 and likely have an impact on my goals for the following 2022 year, which I have yet to fully articulate. Now, this has been an interesting year and one full of change. While there have certainly been some stressors in life with regard to that change, there's also plenty of potential in what lies ahead. I look forward to learning more on this path towards optimal health and wellness, and I look forward to learning more as I begin my journey down the path towards functional medicine. Now, so far, there's been a lot of work on my end in putting data into a system called Living Matrix, and subsequently, I'm documenting my responses and such in a separate document for ease of access, just as a redundancy. And as I began doing this Friday, I realized that I could also utilize this as content for the show and basically share my experience at the Center for Functional Medicine with you. Now, as I was writing all of this morning, and that's basically what I'm doing right now, is I'm reading a blog post to you, or free writing, journaling. Now, as I wrote all this morning, I realized that this free writing session of the morning would serve as a good topic for the show today. Now, with all that said, I am interested in feedback from you, the audience, on this. Now, this is what I'm going to be doing, and I'm already putting effort into the documentation process. And episodes and sharing the experience with you guys will almost inject an accountability aspect into all of it, which will likely serve me well, as there are some of you out there who will hold me accountable. And you guys know who you are. And that's an element of the podcast that I didn't really expect. I didn't expect that I'd be building relationships with some of the people who listen to the show and choose to engage with myself and others who are also listening to the show. It's humbling and fulfilling, and it brings me joy. And I just want to thank all of you who have reached out to me personally in all of the ways that you've done so. It's been wonderful, and I'm very grateful for it. As far as the show is concerned, I believe it will take a turn towards functional medicine as I learn more about it. And especially with this new computer that I've got on the way, that I referenced in episode 172, Custom Computing, I'm hoping to get some work done in the digital realm, more effectively organize some of all the chaos that's in my mind, and that's on the dozens, like literally dozens of hard drives and multiple computers that are floating around my office and in storage. And it will be nice to consolidate data and really get things organized and begin executing on some of the ideas that I have been collecting for the past decade or so. Anyways, it's going to get interesting, guys. But the remainder of 2021 is looking up, and 2022, in my opinion, is going to be an exceptional year. So stick around, and if you think there's someone else in your life that would benefit from hearing more about functional medicine and everything else that we've talked about to date, then I would encourage you to share the show with them, or just share it on social media. For those of you who are interested, there is a Telegram channel that provides updates to the show, only updates. It's not a chat group. You can subscribe to that and get notifications every time there is a new update to the show or when a new show is released. If you want to participate in a group chat with fellow audience members who are also on a similar path, consider checking out the Telegram chat group at t.me/allaroundgrowth. If you're an Apple Podcast listener, and as far as I can tell, based on the statistics, about just over half of you guys are. There's a link in the app, or a link in the show notes as well, for how to leave a review. Hey, buddy. And sorry, I got distracted. I cut the morning walk a little too short, made it back into the office sooner than expected. Wanted to get into the show notes, and decided to let Toby out of the crate before I wrapped up the show. So this ending is a little bit weird. But anyways, there is a link in the show notes on how to leave a rating and review through Apple Podcasts, and any of you guys are encouraged, or all of you guys are encouraged, to give a rating on any of the podcast players that you listen to. Like I said, spread the word on social media. Get it out there. There's links to all episodes in the show notes as well. And if you have any questions or feedback for me, whether it's related to functional medicine or not, feel free to drop me a line at allaroundgrowth@gmail.com, or just join the community, t.me/allaroundgrowth. This is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.